Let's go to Elizabeth in Greenville, South Carolina. What's up, Elizabeth?
Hi. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Thank you. What's going on?
Well, my husband started his very first ministry job about 18 months ago, and I'm afraid he's going to get fired. And
Oh, hey.
And I don't know how to help.
I know it's not funny, but I'm laughing anyway. How long have y'all been married?
We've been married about 7 years.
And what did he do before he started working for Jesus? I'm assuming that. Is that kind of ministry?
Yeah, definitely Jesus ministry, nothing else.
You said, well, actually, and I was like, oh, man, I missed the boat on this one.
Well, he was actually a former Navy guy, so the last call was actually kind of really pertinent to our situation here. Former Navy, and then was a professional graduate student for a couple of years.
Those
while
are the
we were married.
worst. I was one of those.
We got through it. And now he's here in this job, and it's been really tough.
So why do you think he's going to get fired?
He's a youth pastor, and so he's constantly fielding complaints from parents about his lack of organization and lack of admin skills. And then recently he heard from the head pastor that he doesn't feel like he respects him. And the pastor's wife was actually volunteering with the youth group for a while, and she just messaged the entire committee that my husband reports to and says, I'm not helping anymore. And if you guys want to hear about my experience working under this youth pastor, please let me know. So it just seems like...
What was your husband's response to that?
They actually, this is all like in real time.
Oh.
So they have a phone call about it later today, and she's a counselor. So I trust her to be very, forthcoming and honest and mature about the situation. But
Elizabeth, I know a lot of really immature counselors.
Oh man!
But hopefully she's great. Have you talked to her? Called her directly? Because there's this messiness when you're at a church that also has administrative HR stuff. Because it would be way out of bounds for my boss here where I work to get mad at me and then my wife to call him. It would also be weird for somebody who doesn't work here to volunteer to help to join the John Delony team and then to write a report and be like, that was a disaster, which it kind of is. That was a disaster. And if you want my experience, so the whole thing's a mess. But I think I'd reach out and talk to her. That's just side thing. Are y'all have any relationship at all?
Yeah, we do. We actually, we have really great terms, and I feel like she could definitely share stuff with me. And we kind of, she's a new pastor's wife too. Like they've only been married for about a year.
Okay.
So we've both kind of been thrust into these positions of, okay, our husbands have weird jobs, and we, have relationships with people in the congregation, and they complain about our husbands. But we're trying to have connections in community. And it's really hard to kind of differentiate.
It's a disaster. It's an absolute train wreck of a mess, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why pastors and especially their spouses end up some of the loneliest people on the planet because they got nowhere to go. You know what I mean? They end up with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. And the hard part is, like, what normally happens is the spouses of the current ministers become really close. And then one day you say, hey, I found something at our house, or my husband expressed this and I'm worried about it. And now you're going to your friend with a concern, but now it's just become an HR issue.
Yeah.
Right? And so the whole thing's a mess. It's just messy, messy, messy. I personally don't like that the pastor's wife did like recon on your husband. I don't like that. I wish it had been a little more upfront. Anyway, that's beside the point. So what does your husband say about all this? Does he know he's got a problem?
Yeah, he's been working on it, on his administrative stuff. And the thing is that I'm really good at it. and I do marketing and public relations. So I'm, I'm very type A and very good at getting the word out about events and things like that. I mean, like I could just like sweep the floor with, with the communication style. And so when I try to step in to help him kind of and give him suggestions, it's usually well received, but I don't know how to stop myself from steamrolling over him and doing his job for him. But at the same time, when he's receiving complaints about, parents don't know about this event, or we don't have enough people signed up to go to, a fun activity out of town, it's usually because he hasn't really done due diligence on making connections with the parents and making sure they all know what's going on.
So can we back out for a second? How much of this is you're scared your husband's going to lose his job, and how much of this is you're super frustrated that like he's not doing basic tenets of the job, and it happens to be the parts that you're really good at too? Can I tell you where this is really hitting home for me? My wife is a master teacher, an incredible K through 12 teacher. She's just she's just a stud. And she came and visited my classroom once when I was teaching high school. And her quote to me was, "I don't know what that was, but that's not teaching." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm incredible." And she's like, "That's actually incorrect. You're not credible." And so it actually became a thing where we never talked about it because we did it so differently, and it drove her crazy. And that's what I'm hearing a little bit in your voice. Your husband's about to get fired. That we can talk about that, but it also sounds like you're losing respect for the guy that you're married to because he can't do basic things that you do really well. Is that fair?
Wow. Losing respect. I guess so. It just kind of seems like, gosh, why can't you just get it together? Or, why can't you just piece these parts together? And how can you not see when you put the word out about something the day before an event? Of course, people aren't going to show up.
Absolutely. And why is he choosing? Why is he choosing that?
Successful.
Why is he choosing that?
I have a couple of different working theories.
This will be good.
Said to me, "Would you like my thesis statement?"
My thesis. My guess is A, he doesn't like this job. It's not what he thought it was going to be, or B, he's overwhelmed, or C, he's lazy. I
think it's a mixture of B and C, and maybe a little bit of A thrown in.
Okay.
He might. What I've noticed is the little details that really matter to people, especially to the other people on staff. He feels like he's above them.
He better recognize. He better recognize.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and like meeting deadlines for things that he thinks are small potatoes in the grand scheme of things, he neglects. And so I'm constantly like, you have to, like, this matters to someone. It might not matter to you, but it matters to someone. And the fact that you're kind of digging your heels in and not doing this, it's not great. And that, causes tension. And the team is really small. And so it's like 5 or 6 people.
It falls on somebody.
And so,
yeah. So what's heartbreaking here? 2 things. Number 1, people I work with may have had a similar conversation with me in the last couple of years, and 2, not from the beneath thing. I don't jive with that. There's no job here beneath any of us. The big thing is I had this conversation with my 10-year-old or 11-year-old recently. My 11-year-old. And this is a very immature man. This is a maturity issue. You know what I mean? It's a choice issue. And here at where I work, where, Dave Ramsey's the CEO, you'll see Dave picking up trash in a parking lot. He we all got a deadline the other day on some book stuff, and he was the first one done. And he had more to do than I did. And he has infinitely less time available than I do. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a maturity issue. And I know that's frustrating for you as your wife. Has this always been this way? Does he treat you like this? Did he treat his Navy career like this? Surely not.
you really don't have an opportunity to act that way in the Navy.
That's what I'm
you've
saying.
got a commanding officer, you've got people that you report to, you've got a very systematic thing, working for you.
So the deal is, he can do it if he chooses. And if he chooses not to because it's beneath him, that's a character issue. And he shouldn't be a pastor. You know what I mean? Because he's teaching young people that things are beneath him. That there will come, I don't want that type of character around young people. I want a youth. My dad, after he quit being a cop for a long time, became a youth pastor. And dude, he was the first one there at 6 a.m, and he would get home at 2 a.m. that next night because he was cleaning up the bus in the parking lot. That's the guy I want around my kids. You know what I mean? And I know this is hard because it's your husband. That's why I ask you, is there a respect issue here?
Yeah. When I think about even the way that he treats stuff around the house, I've fought really hard not to be the type of woman who argues about how the dishwasher is loaded here and there. But I told him after he had this conversation with the pastor where he said, I feel like you don't respect me. I was like, I kind of get that. If you're doing something, you might not be doing something directly to say, I disrespect you, but you might not be doing something that indicates,
Exactly.
You're not respectful.
So here's a gift you can give him, and that is by not kind of saying things a little bit, maybe-ish. You deserve to be respected, and you deserve to have your voice heard in your home. And he might take off. Who knows? Hopefully not. He might start to get it. When you stand up and say, for 10 years or 15 years, however long we've been married, 7 years, you've never done this dishwasher the right way. And I'm telling you this as somebody whose wife did that for me. And it ended up being a gift. And when you say, when I ask you to do something like this around here and you dismiss it, I feel disrespected. I feel less than. I feel like you think you are more valuable than me. That's the story I tell myself. And he needs to hear that because this may be the first time he's heard some of these things. And at some point, I hate to tell you this, he's going to have to get fired or have some sort of big awakening before this type of character stuff shifts, because he's walking around the world as though it all revolves around him. Is that fair?
You're so right. I've never seen it like that before, but you're right.
He probably complains about the way they made his steak or his burger or his whatever, or they can't believe they cleaned my car like this. But everything is through a lens of how does it impact me? Not as the heart of a minister should be and the heart of a husband should be. How does this impact my wife and the people whose kids I'm taking care of? Right? Most of the ministers I work with have given so much of themselves to everyone around them that they've got nothing left for themselves. This is the inverse of that. I want my job
on with here.
Yeah.
It's really not.
So here's what I think you do. I think you, after the call today, hopefully he's still employed. My guess is he will be, but he'll have some strict stuff. In this moment, I think it's valuable if y'all get out of your home and you go somewhere, and like I told the last caller, and you tell him, this stuff that's being told to you is right. I feel it too as your wife. And I'm willing to walk alongside you as you change your lens, you change your glasses on how you're going to begin to interact with the world. Because we have to have a world of service if you're a minister. You got to have a world of service if you're a husband. You got service if you're a wife. You'll serve. And this thing's going to be done inside out. And in my life, here's what that means. Don't ever be late again. Never. Because somebody else has to pick that stuff up. Somebody else has to have a conversation with somebody. If I'm late, Kelly's got to tell the caller, sorry, we're running behind here. She's got to clean up my mess. James has to, I create ripple effects when I do that. Or if I don't park in the right place, or if I don't get my money turned in, or if I don't fill in, whatever it happens to be. If I don't get my emails turned in, whatever. This is about dignity and respect. And y'all need to sit down and have that hard conversation. And for what it's worth, he feels it on you, Elizabeth. He feels you looking at him, looking down at him, like almost disgust, almost like, what are you doing? What? It's good to get that stuff out. It's good to get that stuff out.